Hola, amigos and amigas. Me llamo es Enrico Puesto Trayendo de Filipinos de Peopleopolis. And this year's Santa Claus really is the NFL because they've got a lot of football games on today. And I'm pretty excited about watching them, frankly. I know that my audience around here is not super sports heavy in its orientation, but sometimes I like to include some sports related content in my media. And this is one of those times. It's Christmas, so I might as well give myself the present of watching football. Ruben R. and Acacia, how are the two of you? I hope you are doing well. Namaste. Namaste. That means God bless you in Indian. I say it after you sneeze. So, if you are watching the football game, fantastic, because you'll be playing along with us, so to speak. Um, and the game we're playing is what's going on with football. Let me just tell you, Rachel, right now, has a chance, a real chance of winning her playoff matchup, even though she was a lower seed and started with a point disadvantage, because Mahomes is his starting quarterback, or the opponent's starting quarterback. Rachel is 30 some points behind, but she started more than that behind because of the seed advantage he has, right? But he's got Devontae Adams on the Raiders, who's not really caught any passes. The Raiders' offense is not doing much. He's got Mahomes. Mahomes isn't doing shit. So, but of course, who knows? The fourth quarter is still to come. Um, but if, in fact, Mahomes and Devontae Adams continue to do nothing, and they dramatically underperform their projections, and if Jalen Hurts and his Devontae, the other Devontae, or maybe it's Devontae Adams is Rachel's Devontae. Oh God, oh no, oh shit. His helmet came off and then he got hit in the head. He's okay. Merry Christmas, everybody. He's okay, good. Um, oh, he got kneed in the head twice by his lineman after his helmet came off. That's unfortunate. But he seems to be fine. He doesn't even seem especially dazed. It's like he was more worried that it was worse than he thought it was. You know, he thought it was worse than it was. Oh, and note this: Patrick Mahomes almost throws another interception. Patrick Mahomes on one snap fumbled. The Raiders picked it up, ran it in for a fumble six. On the very next offensive snap that the Chiefs had, he threw a pick six. Back to back snaps. He did great in fantasy football until last week and then lost in playoffs. Somebody needs to come in fifth. Well, in the league I'm playing in, only the top four teams make the playoffs. This is the first week of the playoffs. Rachel's team advanced in the playoffs. Mine did not. But both she and her opponent are very much underperforming projections across the board. He's doing slightly better than her at the moment, but he's only got a quarter left or so to play with Mahomes and the Raiders wideout. And if the defenses continue to dominate the game through the fourth quarter, then all she needs to have happen is for the Eagles quarterback and one of their wideouts to combine to about 35 points or so, and she'll win the playoff game. And since the Eagles are playing against the Giants, I think it's not unlikely that Jalen Hurts has a big day. If he has a big day, probably his lead receiver will have a big day. So, um, I've been steadfastly watching this game and rooting against both Mahomes and the Raiders' offense. Although I'd like the Raiders to win the game. Although I'm fine with both teams making progress on the ground with their running games without Mahomes running, ideally, because neither of his people will get any points that way, And the Giants are a substantially worse team than than the Raiders on defense. The Raiders defense is quite stout. It's impressive watching them play. And what's crazy is if they beat the Chiefs today and then win their next two games, and the Chiefs lose their next two games, the Raiders will win the division. So that would be interesting. Apparently, it's actually more likely for them to win the division than to make a wild card. Which is usually not the case, but depends on the division. That division is pretty evenly spread across. The Chiefs are leading right now, but they're at 9-5, whereas the Raiders are 6-8. Right, that guy who hit his head and tried to get on the exam table, and the table broke underneath him. Okay, so the Raiders now have the ball, and what we're hopeful is they just keep trying to run the ball. I suspect they will. Yes, they hand it off. Their running back gets outside, gets about 7 yards or something. Number 35. Now, since that doesn't help him at all, he doesn't have the running back. Then I'd like to see the Raiders succeed in running the ball, because I don't want the Chiefs to make the playoffs. I think that'd be great if the Raiders won the division. That'd be fantastic. But the Chiefs would have to lose out, and that seems kind of unlikely. Injury, someone's down on the field. So once again, we'll have to step aside for a commercial break, I bet. But yep, here it is. We're going to begin with Reese's Pieces. That's what the commercial's for. Not Reese's Pieces, just Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. If you believe, I'm sorry, this is Reese's Caramel Big Cup. Here's a commercial for YouTube TV, which I already have. It's also a commercial for Sunday Ticket, which I don't have, because I don't need to see all the NFL games that badly. I could get it now. For the last couple of weeks, it's only $39. That's not a terrible idea. So, this is not the only game on today. We also have coming up, I think, at least 2 more games, which is kind of crazy for Christmas Day. Yes, they also have basketball on. Yeah, there are 2 more games. There's a 1:30 game between the Giants and Philadelphia. That's an important game. We'll want to watch that. And then additionally, there's a 5:15 game, and that one is the fucking barn burner, because you're looking at 11-3 San Francisco versus 11-3 Baltimore. So that should be a really good game. I think San Francisco is gonna beat them, in part because they're at home, but in part because I've watched the Niners pretty much every game they played this season, and they look really good. McCaffrey is a beast. It's quite surprising how like much of a beast he is, But Brock Purdy is also quite a good quarterback. The thing is, they're going to be playing against a tough defense today. The Niners will. So let me pull out the chat thing here into its own window so I can have it up at the same time as the game. Hi, Hero Lamb. Can either of you climb up a tree vine with no gloves? I've not tried to do so that I can recall. So it's hard for me to say for sure whether I could, but I'm going to guess the answer is no. I probably also couldn't climb up it with gloves. So the Raiders have the ball. They've handed it off again. Good job, Raiders. And the running back has made good progress. Number 35. He got a first down. Picked up 15, almost 20 yards. Carlos Baeva, don't be shitting on the wonderful National Football League that we all enjoy so much, okay? If you want to shit on a sport, shit on something like gymnastics, not NFL football. Well, the Raiders ran the ball again. Good. We don't want the Raiders to start throwing passes to their leading receiver because Rachel's opponent has the Raiders' leading receiver Dante, whatever. Real men watch hockey or rally racing. Carlos Paiva is European, so he doesn't really like American football. Gymnasts are nice to look at, though. Well, sometimes. They also have male gymnastics. Shit on ice skating if you want. Ice skating's so horrible with their sparkly dresses and their dumb meow shit. It's like, okay, ice skating. You need to stop right now. You need to stop with your sliding around on ice. Now we've got a 17-7 game, third quarter. The Raiders are moving the ball. It's 3rd and 10. There's 30 seconds left in the quarter. 7 seconds on the play clock. McAllister, I think his name is, the Raiders quarterback, drops back to pass. Targets Devontae Adams, but fails to connect with his leading receiver. Bringing up 4th and 10. Now, the Raiders appear to be in field goal range. They'll probably take the field goal and can reasonably expect to make it from this distance, probably stretching thereby their lead from 10 to 13. Sure, you might prefer it to be 14, so it's an even 2 touchdowns, but a field goal only gives you 3 points, and the Raiders currently have 17. He kicks the field goal through the uprights. With 24 seconds left in the third quarter, Vegas takes a 20-7 lead. We'll be right back after these important messages. This upcoming Sunday, there'll be 2 games on CBS, Dolphins at Ravens, Bengals at Chiefs. The Bengals could... Am I warning free? Yes, I am warning free. I have no warning on my channel. So YouTube considers me a citizen in good standing again. Which is nice. Feels good. I didn't like having that warning. O'Connell, that's his name. Aiden O'Connell is, on his last 10 pass attempts, 1 for 10. On his last 9 pass attempts, he is 0 for 9. Yeah, I do have to see if new videos do better. Uh, you know, I suspect that I'm not. It doesn't look like I'm seeing much of a change in live stream audience, which is not very large. But uh, you know, I'd like to see myself do some more sort of thoughtfully decided upon uploads that are intended to do a little bit better. I mean, I know I am who I am. I'm not going to dramatically change and sustain any kind of plan to publish this or that, but I do believe I can make somewhat of an effort to be a little bit more audience minded in the coming year. And I think it'll, you know, ultimately have a good effect. That means somewhat doing more shorts, but somewhat more uploaded videos. And Rachel's listening to Johnny right now as she takes a shower. I haven't seen her yet this morning because she got up late. So I think while we're in between quarters here, we'll go outside and smoke a cigarette while these commercials play. Right now they're advertising for Toyota. I have had a Toyota before. I had a Toyota truck. And I can assure you it was a sturdy old friend. It was a very stripped down, light pickup truck from Toyota. Green truck. It had been salvaged actually. Somebody had taken out to the desert and like shot it with a gun. So it was cheap. But it was fully like fixed. It wasn't broken or whatever. It just was as like stripped down as a truck could possibly be. It had these kind of windows even. It didn't have any air conditioning. It just had like a turn dial AM FM radio at first. I think I put a CD player in there at some point. It was a stick shift. As is my current car, which is great for living in the mountains because you burn your brakes less, but used your transmission more, I guess. My car has a lot of miles on it, but it's still rolling along just fine. It's got well over 100,000 miles. So on this Christmas day, you know, ultimately, NFL watch party aside, I just felt like chatting to the world, whether they're listening or not, and also to provide a place where on Christmas Day where people can hang out if they don't got anything else to do. Christmas can be a time that's the holidays can be a time that people get depressed, feel sad or whatever. I've had some of not depression, but I had a big, you know, emotional cold and blow yesterday, and I found it very therapeutic, restorative in some sense. Get him. Don't let Mahomes run. Okay, Chiefs, if you're gonna score a touchdown, use your running backs, please. First of all, you're gonna get Mahomes hurt. You don't want to do that. You want to retain his capacity to play football so you can make the playoffs. Because you don't throw the ball at all, in fact. We don't want Mahomes to get any points. Yes, I'm sure Taylor Swift is happy that her boyfriend got a pass. They've shown her once so far during the game after a big Kelsey gain. Once that I noticed, I was kind of fast forwarding to the next play, 15-second jump, so I didn't have to watch it as much in between stuff until I caught up with the game. That was after I worked with Jeffrey on college admission essays this morning. One of my least favorite activities. Mahomes rolling out. He's going to get sacked if he's not careful. Did he? Did they complete the ball? Oh, he threw a pick? Yes. Hooray. Take that, Mahomes. You should get minus points for picks. That's your second pick today. The Raiders' defense has 3 takeaways, 2 of which resulted in touchdowns by the defense. They only have 6 points from their offense, 2 field goals. But their defense is just smothering Kansas City, doing a great job. Now that it's the fourth quarter, on this turnover they just got, I'm assuming the Raiders are going to try to run the ball and milk the clock, which is exactly what we want because we don't want him to score, Rachel's opponent to score any more fantasy points. That's really what we're aiming for here in this game. Now, in the upcoming game, Philadelphia versus the Giants, we are looking to see Philadelphia do a lot on offense because Rachel has Jalen Hurts and Devontae whatever, the Eagles' leading receiver. No relation to Devontae Adams. So anyway, even though it's been a cruel, cruel summer, it's no longer summer. And summer wasn't really cruel. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good, healthy, enabled to live and move forward, make decisions, make some plans maybe. Merry Christmas, Rachel. Good morning, my beautiful darling. Merry Christmas, Ruse Moose. Nothing but love reciprocated from America to the Netherlands. Whether the Netherlands be Holland, whether it be the place where the Dutch live, it doesn't matter. Either way. He didn't see it coming since he anticipated it for months, though. How didn't he see it coming? How didn't I see what coming? You've been out building a house / cabin out of cut trees? Well, that sounds interesting. It's a very naked and afraid activity. You've been doing it in the nude with primitive tools? If so, you should go on Naked and Afraid here, Lamb. Have you thought about it? They'll give you like $5,000 a month or something. Even if technically there's no prize, they do pay you something to go on it. And then if you do well, you could go be a legend, and then they pay you like an actor, I think. Is Eric nutting? Message retracted. I'm not nutting at the moment, I don't believe. Wait. Oh yeah, no, I'm not. It's safe. It's safe to go back and they didn't say, they said he didn't make that catch on the interception. Chiefs got the ball back. Now it's 3rd and 1 after a 9-yard gain. Gosh darn it. That's not what we want to see here. We want to see the Chiefs continue to flounder on offense so that Rachel's fantasy football team has a chance to win. At the moment, she's got a not bad chance to win. In fact, I would say if the Chiefs do nothing more in this game, and Devontae Adams does nothing more in this game, that Rachel is more than likely to win, given that Devontae given that Jalen Hurts is likely to get 20 points or something, she needs only like 35, and his leading receiver is likely to get, a good amount too. Like if they get what they're projected, and the Chiefs don't do anything else, then she'll win. If the Chiefs are going to get another touchdown, we really want them to get a touchdown with their running back because as long as Mahomes isn't involved, it doesn't hurt her at all, whatever the Chiefs do. Right now, they're running the ball. There's a flag, though. It looks like in the spot where holding usually is. So, might be holding against the Chiefs. We'll see. In which case, Mahomes will have to throw the ball more. So, that's unfortunate. But, the beat goes on, as they say in Europe. I suspect I'd smoke every other person far as surviving, though. Why don't you go try it? Why don't you apply to it here, Lynn? If you're a young man who knows how to do stuff like live in the wilderness or whatever, you should totally do it. And you could be like Ruben's friend who started off doing a regular episode, but then got on like a fancy episode where I'm pretty sure they all get paid as actors rather than as just as naked and afraid participants. So, consider that. You're probably the right demographic to get chosen. I think you're pretty young, right? But you're old enough too. Oh yeah, you get paid for it. They pay you like a monthly salary the first time you go on there. But also, if you go on there and succeed, you'll become a public figure of some sort, and that will afford you various opportunities as well. Oh no, no, no! Okay, good. He didn't score a touchdown. The Chiefs did get a big gain there, but they were stopped short of the goal line, and hopefully, if the Chiefs score, they'll score with their running back. I did give the Woodland Friends cutlets this morning. They are enjoying them right now. We've got Chad and Sarah over here. Already decided to name them this morning. No, they all ran away for some reason. That might be Sarah. Oh, there's Chad. He's back. Chad's over here. Anyway, Chad and Sarah are enjoying the cutlets. They also have some friends coming around, like Damon. Damon's right. Damon just showed up. Damon's one you can probably tell apart from the other ones because he's got kind of mottled fur. Maybe he has that blotchy person disorder that you need to buy that cream for. That's Damon. Can you see his fur is blotchy? Not really. All right. So now we have the Chiefs again trying to get into the touchdown area of the field called the end zone with their offense, but being snake bit by yet another penalty. The Chiefs have looked haphazard at best today. It looked like a team that's in disorder, in disarray. Lots of penalties, turnovers, drops. Well, there was at least one drop in the first half by Kelsey, bringing the total number of drops on the season by the Chiefs to 38, which is tops in the NFL, or bottoms, if you want to evaluate it accordingly. Now, it's third and goal from, looks like the 8-yard line. Maybe they got a timeout off before that false start. Mahomes throws the ball, but it's incomplete. And the Raiders defense is celebrating their successful prevention of a touchdown. It looks as though the Chiefs are going to have to kick a field goal here, even though they're down by 13. Um, with this much time left in the fourth quarter, and now they're going for it, 4th and goal. Okay, well, color me corrected. Unfortunately, this seems likely to be a pass play, and Mahomes could get a touchdown, and that would really hurt Rachel's chances. But hopefully they're just trying to draw him. No, they're hike the ball. They're dropping back for the pass. There goes the throw. It is incomplete. Nice defense by number 19, 39. Hubs. Hubs? Looks like Hubs. He knocked the ball away from the receiver. Pew! Knock it away, he said with his hand. Good job, Mr. Hubs. Good job. You did an excellent job defending that pass play. I guess piebaldish is the right word. You know those people who have they're dark skin. Usually they're kind of dark skin, but then they got these patches of white people skin kind of on them. Anyway, they have a cream for that now. You can put on you to make you less blotchy. But as I've indicated, I'd like to use it to make myself more blotchy. Because I always felt like, I'm in a non-blotchy body, but my soul is meant to be in a blotchy body. So that's why I decided to increase blotchiness by a factor of 3. Now, 3 times more blotchy. That'll be addendum I put on the channel background image to let people know about my change to increased blotchiness. So I know it's not as exciting as NFL football, but unfortunately, it looks like we need to do a little bit of a cat eating watch party during the NFL watch party. Trouble's here. He's queer. He wants to eat some more food. Hello, Trouble. How you doing? If I pet you, you stop pooing. You eat food now with your mouth, and I wonder how whether you will fly south when it is winter, like a goose does. Or are you like Mr. Huskas? Mr. Huskas is our neighbor, and he says he doesn't like it when you hate her. Oh, yes. What a pettibly fresh friend. He's pettibly fresh. You know who else is pettibly fresh? Me. Okay, so the Raiders have the ball now. They stopped them on 4th down. And hopefully they will run the ball and try to run the clock out. Yes, they do run the ball. The running back gets a good solid 7.5 yards. And hopefully, additionally, the Raiders are just going to milk this clock. Just let it go down as far as possible before snapping the ball. That guy got kneed in the head. Oh, no, a different guy. I think it is. But it could have been the same guy. Isaiah Pacheco is out with a concussion. That was a little bit scary looking when that happened. But I think he's fine. If you're holding the back of your head and going, ow, 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 you're a lot better off than if you're not doing that, probably, So the Chiefs stopped the Raiders on their 2nd down running attempt. Now the Raiders might have to throw the ball. If they do, I hope they get a completion, but not to Davante Adams, because Rachel's opponent, as indicated before, does have Davante Adams as his receiver, one of his receivers. So both Rachel and he have two players playing today. Rachel needs to dramatically outperform his two players. So far, his two players are doing so badly. Oh, good job! The Raiders ran for the first down. It was like the opposite of a play action pass. It was like a pass action run. Uh, and they got the first down. This will enable them to chew another minute and a half or so off the clock, even if they don't get a first down. Another one. But
would you like a Christmas cup of noodles?
I would love one. Thank you, darling.
You're welcome.
I'll make a Christmas pizza later.
Oh my gosh. Like, honestly, I was like, that would be perfect right now. Like,
I can make it. I can start making it right now.
I'll document it on Instagram too.
Okay. All right. So what I'm gonna do here is, well, there's a Raiders player down. They're gonna have an injury timeout. I'm gonna just gonna set the dough up on this board. Then I'm gonna roll it out over here by the TV before I start doing the other stuff. There's stuff I'll do over here, and all right. So what I need to do is get some dough out. I guess first I'll wash my hands. All right. Now, get the dough out. You got about the right amount of it, which is probably a little more than that.
Yeah.
That seems about right. First, you want to make it into a nice ball. This is step one of this process. Make it into a nice ball. Okay, now, step two of this process is start rolling it out. By squishing it and turning it. Squish and turn, squish and turn. Now, once you get a little bit of size to it, you want to get a little bit of flour for your hands / this thing. And then you just roll it like you were born to roll. The thing is, it takes a while to roll it out, really, to get the right amount of thinness. But you won't regret it if you take the time to roll it out properly. And you'll discover that a little bit of dough becomes quite a bit of pizza. Like, when you get it flat enough It's a lot bigger than when you started. This still has a ways to go. But at this size, you know, even though it's all the ways to go, it'll still be probably too small for both of us. So I may make a second one about the same size at the same time. So I finished season 2 of Sweet Home, which is the Netflix Korean monster show that I've been watching. And I was pretty pleased with the end of season 2. I was kind of pleasantly surprised. They did a pretty good job of cleaning up the storyline splay of stuff that seemed to be a little bit poorly directioned. You know, like do they really know where they're going? I still am not convinced they know where they're going, but I think they did a good job in the last couple of episodes of season 2. And I guess I'll be back summer 2024 with season 3. Okay. So that's about flat enough. Probably just want to roll out this side a little bit more and then call it ready for stuff. Okay, that's pretty good. Ooh, I'm glad I didn't drop that. Okay, good. Now, we'll get out the tomato paste. I'll get this spoon that I used yesterday. Clean it off the old tomato paste. Okay. Now, get this tomato paste and we rub it onto here. At the back of the spoon like this. And try to spread it all around so every spot of it is covered with some tomato paste. You just gotta make sure you get it all over so you don't have any naked dough. Also, don't want it too thick, so you spread it all around.
Are you looking at drugs?
Just like There. A little bit more there. There. That's fine. Okay, now that we've got the tomato paste on, we're gonna take some of this garlic powder, sprinkle it all like this. Take some of these powdered onions, sprinkle them like that. And then we'll get some cheese and some meat. Alright, so we don't really have any Colby Jack left. We just have one. So we'll have to use these medium cheddars this time instead. Takes 3 cheeses for a pizza bigger than this. Might take 2 cheeses for this one. So we'll just open up these cheeses. Put it right there. Cheese right there, and there. Okay, got the cheeses out. We want to cut them nice and small. So I tore them up with my fingers last night, but this is the better way to do it.
Should I put your cup of noodles on the table?
You mean by the chairs?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now, cut these up a little bit smaller. I'll just kind of dice these bits here. There we go. Now, we just spread this cheese all around, just like we did with the tomato paste. Making sure that all the spots have at least a little bit of cheese on them. Okay. So once you get it adequately cheesed, I would say that's pretty adequately cheesed. Well, I might as well just use the rest of these little cheeses here. So just put meow, 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 and meow, and meow, and meow. Okay, now it's time for the meat. We don't have pastrami, but that's okay, because we have salami. And what we'll do is the same thing we did with the cheese. We'll just cut these into very small pieces. Okay. Now we we sprinkle these meats around, just like we did the cheeses. Trying to get some meats on all the spots, and not too much meats on any one spot. Okay. Now, this is ready to go into the oven. And yes, I'm not preheating the oven first. That's intentional. What I'm going to do instead is wait till the pizza's in there. Okay. There.
Wonderful.
I got the pizza on the cookie tray. See? And now we're going to heat the oven to 350. But we're going to put it in before it heats. And then I'm going to set a total timer of 24 minutes. Now it takes some time to preheat, so it's not actually going to be 24 minutes in the at 350, but it'll be 24 minutes in the oven. And if it works like it did yesterday, the shakes the same exact thing, then Rachel and I will split that small pizza in a little bit, and I'll make another pizza in a bit. Now it's time to resume what's going on in the football game. Hopefully nothing dramatic has happened, because if nothing dramatic happens, that bodes well for Rachel's fantasy football team. And it would be a kind of a shocking win, given the big disadvantage he started the week at. He'd be like, I cannot believe I lost that game. So as an appetizer, Rachel and I have a cup of noodles. It's good to start with a soup or a salad. We've chosen a soup today.
Yeah. A Christmas cup of noodles.
Christmas cup of noodles. No. How are you, Mr. Meow? You don't want a cup of noodles. You think you want a cup of noodles, but you don't. Well, we're back at Arrowhead, and the stands look fairly empty, which suggests, well, the Chiefs did score another touchdown. It's 20-14. But we don't know if they threw for it. If they ran for it, then that doesn't really hurt you. It looks like the Raiders just taking a knee. So this game is over with a capital O. Now let's check on Rachel's fantasy football team and see how it's doing.
Mariah Carey, Merry Christmas to all.
No, Mariah Carey. I'm sorry, but no. Okay, so he has 215 now. He got a little bit more points, so fair amount more. Now she needs to get basically 45 points
Oh man.
out of 2 players, but it's not impossible. Jalen Hurts is projected at 21, and Devonta Smith is projected at 12.1. If they were to both end up with like 23 points, she'd win this week. They are playing against the Giants. They might have a big offensive explosion, It's conceivable. Well, they did throw for that touchdown, unfortunately. Mahomes did underperform, but got close to his projection. He ended up with 16. Unfortunately, Devontae Adams for the Raiders only got 1.4, and he was projected at 16.8. So he really underperformed. He only got 72 points for the whole week. Now, Rachel's at 56 right now. She'll certainly beat him for the week, I think. But whether or not she will win the playoff matchup, given that she started behind, is another question. Cone Man's here. Let's see what he says. A local place uses pineapple juice in their base as one of their secrets. Take your time, Winston's mom. Do you think? Well, I mean, I didn't know the pizza making secret until last night when I seemed to happen upon the ideal pizza making approach. I mean, if it comes out the way it came out last night, anybody would love this pizza.
It was delicious.
It's super thin and crispy, and tastes fantastic. So, I'm wondering if really the secret to making good pizza is as simple as roll it thin, use tomato paste instead of some other kind of sauce, and you can just add your ingredients. That's it, I mean, on top of the tomato paste, I did pour some garlic powder and some chopped dried onions, which I believe help a lot. You can taste it,
Yeah. It does help it.
So we'll see how this one comes out, but hopefully it comes out as good as the last one.
So I asked everyone if they got cold for Christmas, and I'm wondering, did Tiffany get cold?
Yeah.
You're not happy with that, Tiffany?
Whatever else to it.
Oh, you're used to it?
Mm-hmm.
Do you like Christmas?
Christmas is the season of giving, but it's also the season of finding and keeping.
Does Tiffany participate in that Yankee swap?
I don't know what that is. I've never heard of it.
So you put a bunch of Christmas presents from everyone in the middle of a pile, and there's a number of 1 to say you have 9 people, and then you pick a number out of a hat, and whatever number is the chance that you get to either pick a gift or steal a gift.
I got all the numbers.
You got all the numbers?
I found them. Okay, so with that game over, what we are looking at coming up is the 1:30 game in 20 minutes. Currently, there's a pregame show on which we could watch and mute, but won't be especially interested, I don't think. So what we'll do after we finish this cup of noodles is we'll go smoke a cigarette and discuss the big cosmic questions of life. Things like, what's that? And, huh?
Is this Twist Tie's baby cousin?
This is armless Aaron.
Armless Aaron.
But you might get arms someday.
You might get arms someday.
If there's another twist tie to come around,
Where did we get this Twist Tie from?
These lamps, I think, maybe some of the stuff in there. I don't know. Something I put together or took out of a package or something like that.
It looks great.
Thanks. Thank you for slaving all day over a hot cup of noodles.
You're welcome.
It's good to have hot food sometimes, not just cold food, Makes you feel like you're eating a real meal. Like a real boy. Rachel sounds like such an easy person to get along with. She's very easy to live with.
Thanks. I think you're easy to live with too.
Thanks, darling. I mean, we live together fine under very difficult circumstances. It's very easy, super easy to live with Rachel here, It's always difficult to live with another person if you have very little space. But when you have more space, it's a lot easier. But Rachel and I did remarkably well under incredibly difficult circumstances, really. So we're just compatible. We're compatible like rice and soy sauce. We're compatible like cups and noodles. Hopefully, we're compatible like Jalen Hurts and his leading wideout. Devonta Smith, I think his name is. I don't know if it's his leading wideout or not, but hopefully it's his go-to guy today.
Yeah, I hope so too.
I love the fact that he's finished his week, and Rachel has just the two players in this game left. It makes this, watching this game, concurrently watch her progress in the fantasy football playoff matchup. Could come down to the wire, The Eagles are favored by 14. The over-under is 42. Which means probably, let's see. It means their predicting it's going to be like 28-14, I guess. I think we might need more than 4 combined touchdowns between Hurts and home fries. We might need 5. I'd like to see the Eagles put up 35 or 42 points today. It would be great. And hopefully score none of them with a running back. Don't worry, we're almost time for ready to go smoke a cigarette. I know you guys are getting a Nick fit. Rob Lowe is the host of The Floor. I'm glad to see Rob Lowe getting some work done.
Yeah.
The USA has bigger houses and rooms than the UK. Maybe that is the case. We have a fair amount of square footage for two people. I think it's 2,100 square feet. Yeah. Which isn't bad. Plenty of room to move around. You know, when I'm in the master bedroom and Rachel's sleeping in her room, the day room, then we really can't hear each other or anything. You know, it's like it's completely separate sleeping spaces, which is nice because, like last night, we started the night together. I get up fairly often, which probably disrupts Rachel a little bit. And at some point, when I got up, she got up and said she was going upstairs. And then at that point, after that, we were both able to just stretch out and stuff. Trouble's a big pain in the butt. So
yeah.
Patrick Swayze's dead. When did Patrick Swayze die? Did you know Patrick Swayze was dead?
Yeah, we had this conversation.
No, we had. Okay. Yeah. Okay. What did he die of?
I don't know.
Anal wreckage.
I can look it up.
You like Patrick Swayze's music? I did not know that Patrick Swayze made music.
Me neither.
Morris Arboretum and Garden in Philadelphia features a delightful toy train going round and round as the children point and celebrate its holiday quaintness. I am becoming a real adult. It's kind of strange, but
Is that what you wanted for Christmas?
I didn't really want anything for Christmas, but I am considering getting a couple of purchases I want to get starting in January. I'd like to maybe get a new laptop.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind getting a Reset Marathon shirt.
What's that?
It's the shirt the guy in Shangri-La Frontier wears when he's not in the game. Men take a while to grow up. Well, I think it depends and very much on the man, their circumstances, etc. But it's like, I heard a quote one time, it was probably from somebody like me. And the quote said, "You don't really become a man until your father dies." Well, that's kind of true in my instance, but I know it's not true for everybody. It depends really on what your relationship with your father is and like what kind of father you have, you know. I had an ESTJ father, so there's something about knowing you can rely on your parents in case of emergency that sustains some kind of youthful unreality. It's like this backstop, you know, is there in cases of last resort or something, and it's ontologically comforting to know that it empowers you to make decisions you wouldn't otherwise make, and maybe you shouldn't make, because you know you could be bailed out if necessary, you know. So living as an orphan. My life as an orphan has been interesting. You know, starting in last December when my mom died, I became an orphan. And that's when I started eating porridge I'm speaking in a British accent. May I have more porridge, sir? I'm but a poor orphan boy. Capillo, what are you doing? Oh my goodness. Look at this kitty. No wonder there are no woodland friends around. Look what she is doing. She blends in so well, I didn't even see her. She's right there. Can you even see her? Capillo. You probably can't even see her, huh? She is right in the middle of the camera. Like, there she is. Now you can see her. She moved her head. How camouflaged is she? It's kind of crazy, huh? She's hanging there waiting for a bird or a squirrel to come down so she can eat it or kill it anyway. Capillo, you silly girl, come down here. Leave the woodland friends alone. What a mighty huntress. No wonder she catches shit, right? She blends in so well. Well, here, Lamb, you should try to avoid that. You're a young adult, and young adults make some bad mistakes sometimes. It can mess up their options as they grow older. You should try to avoid risk as much as possible. Instead, you should go on Naked and Afraid, which does incur some risk, but you can tap out anytime you're feeling like it's genuinely endangering you or something. I would love to see you on Naked and Afraid. Um, to know that somebody from Talking with Femme Fuel made it on Naked and Afraid would delight me to no end. I'd talk about it forever, I'm sure. Capillo. Hey, Capillo, leave them birds alone. All in all, you're just another cat on the wall. She's behind the wall, technically, but you get the point. You get the message of this song. Capillo Bobillo, come here, silly girl. Come here and leave the woodland friends alone. Yes, that's right, Capillo. I said, leave the woodland friends alone. Because all in all, you're just another cat on the wall. What a Bobillo, huh? What a silly Capillo Bobillo. What are you doing? You're smelling with your smelling nose. My cat has a smelling nose that she uses to smell things. Rachel and I are both pretty proud of her for that. I've been training her to use her nose to smell things for years. She's finally mastered it. Oh, yes. Oh, Capillo Bobillo. What a delight. What a Christmas delight you are. Let me go check on that pizza. It's probably about done. All right, let's see how the pizza's doing. Here in Pizza Town, where everybody enjoys the flavor of Italy with their mouths. 48 seconds left. What good timing. Okay. We're going to get these things because these will be useful in grabbing on to the cookie tray and not burning yourself. Just 15 seconds left until the goodness is all ours to enjoy. Just 5 seconds left. Wow. Just as we had hoped, the mini oven would have made successfully a cooked pizza. Looks a little different than last night's pizza. Looks a little more topping heavy, perhaps. But I suspect it will be delicious nevertheless. Yes, nice and crispy. Excellent. And then, what we're going to do is cut the pizza. And you know you got it done right if you cut it and it just cuts like that, right? You don't want to have to be sawing through it in an ideal world. And then you just cut out little pizza-shaped pieces. A couple of squares is fine. Put a little misshapen, but it's fine too. Who just meowed? And what did they meow about?
That was the cat?
Yeah.
Oh no.
Maybe I should check outside.
Yeah.
I hope Capita's okay.
I hope so too.
Sounded almost like it came from this side of the house. Oh, it's that cat. It's Dumpling.
Oh, get out of here, Dumpling.
Shoot! Shoot! Yeah.
I still haven't seen it.
Well, I shoot it away.
Oh, that's good. Think Capito's safe?
Yeah, because that meow was an inter-cat conflict rather than some other animal.
Okay.
I'd be worried about her if it was like a coyote or something, obviously, but... Did they come around again? Let's try the pizza. Mmm.
Where'd you go, Capito?
That's really good.
So?
It's great. It's great.
I can't wait.
Yes, Make It Afraid is a U.S. reality show. Really?
Delicioso.
Thanks, darling. It's got a little more tomato paste on it this time. Maybe I just varied them out a little bit more last night. But
It's good.
it's still very good. Every emotional female says, yes, she is for about 2 weeks out of every month. Is it the first 2 weeks, the middle 2 weeks, the last 2 weeks, the first and fourth week, first and third week, second and fourth week? Those are all the permutations. Is it because you just don't like numbers between 10 and 25? Kitty, get down. Not kitty pizza, okay? I call this pizza highly edible.
It is.
I think anybody would like this pizza.
I think anybody would like the pizza too. It's delicious. Like, I'm pretty sure, like, you're Italian now.
Mm. Yeah, I must be Italian in my transracial fluidity right now.
Yeah,
That explains it.
that's what it is.
I mean, I will say, pizza I'm making at home is definitely better than the pizza at the airport pizza factory.
Yeah, it is.
They don't really have very good pizza.
No.
It's kind of meh. And their Italian food's also not especially good. It's like too much cheese. I got their lasagna, or I think that's what I got.
Mhm.
I actually prefer the Michelangelo's frozen lasagna.
The Michelangelo's is proven to be like
Quite good.
yeah.
And they're not unreasonably priced.
Mm.
We eat a lot of them. So Merry Christmas to everybody who I've not said Merry Christmas to yet.
Merry Christmas.
It is the 25th of December, which is, for those who don't know, the day that Jesus was born.
Uh-huh.
So, unfortunately,
I forget, were you there?
mm,
Oh no, we were just talking about the types.
yeah, I was in Bethlehem, but not at.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Did you
I
feel
kinda-
like you missed out?
Yeah, I did. I felt like I regretted. Like, instead of going to Jesus' birth, I went to a play.
if Ruben put, you know how they have like nativity Christmas shows with kids, if Ruben was really the North Star, like, I think that's adorable. But so Jesus is an ENTP, right?
Who knows? I've said before that God's an ESTJ.
Mm-hmm.
The Holy Ghost, I'm not really sure what I've said that he is before.
INFJ.
INFJ. You know, you might want to switch around Jesus and the Holy Ghost. I'm not sure. Jesus could have been an INFJ because he's not responsible for a lot of words in the Bible, really. You know.
Right. Sure, he does have other people write it for him.
The Holy Ghost, on the other hand, seems the most creative force on the Trinity.
That's true.
Most involved directly with humanity. So it's hard to say for sure.
But then, do you think that, because, conflictor types, ESTJ, INFJ, do you think that, God made Jesus' life tough because he's an INFJ?
I think there's still sort of a fundamental frame conflict between Jesus and his dad. But apparently, his dad's retired and let Jesus take over mostly. 'Cause
Oh.
otherwise, we'd see a lot more plagues and stuff.
So, okay, so in the manger, we've got.
You've got Jesus, you got
Mm-hmm.
Joseph, you got Joseph's brother Dan.
Just his brother Dan.
Yeah, well, sure, he wanted to see his niece being born.
Of
You've
course.
got,
Oh, he thought it was a niece.
well, Jesus is, well, yeah, that's what we thought, but it didn't turn out to be a girl.
Oh man! So
He,
did he come with
well,
like?
he had this theory that where a woman carries the baby during pregnancy indicates what gender
A
it is,
lot of people
but
do.
it was completely bullshit. So. Anyway, Mary was there. Mary's mom, Cynthia, was there. And Mary's dad, Steve, who, unfortunately, really kind of bothered the wise men a lot, pestering them with questions, insisting that they needed to establish that they were genuinely wise before he was going to let them in. But unfortunately, his wife kind of shooed him away and got the wise men hustled into the manger, you know.
Oh my gosh, Ruben, that's so cute. I mean, I think you're right that it probably was a response to having too many kids. I had a star helmet. My mom made out of foam. That's cool. I was bedazzled as well.
It's just proof positive of the gay agenda, Rubenar. They're trying to turn you gay, is what they were doing.
How old were you? Did you dislike being in a costume or didn't mind it? That's tough on the parents too to have to make the costume. I mean, not everyone's crafty.
Well, I mean, I don't know if INFJs have the greatest potential to bring change to the world, but I will point out that Jung, who's responsible for Jungian cognitive functions, which I think is the most comprehensive explanation of the human experience available, was an INFJ. However, I'd also point out that, Tesla was an INTJ probably, and Einstein an INTP probably, and Kant an INTP, and they all made significant contributions as well. Why do I think God is an ESTJ? Um, he he keeps trying to nail down particular rules without an overarching framework. And when people don't obey them, he murders them all. It's like this whole, you know, the carrot is I'll let you go unmurdered. The stick is I will murder you all.
Mary's an ISFJ. Joseph is what?
If God were an ENTJ, hopefully he'd have a little bit more intuition than Old Testament God does, right? Old Testament God shows a decided lack of NI.
That's true.
It's like, I made these creatures to be moral agents, but they're being immoral. Well, that's implicit in making them be moral agents to give them that choice. If you're trying to control them with wrath from above, then you're undermining your own agenda of free will. So it makes no sense. It's something anti-polar would do. God's an ESTJ.
And Jesus still could be an ENTP because he did do a lot of talking and have his friends do the writing.
Well, see, I don't think he did a lot of talking.
Oh, you don't?
No, I mean he did a few speech kind of things, but I think primarily he did things like, when he step in, he'd step up and say, "Let he who is without sin throw the first stone."
Okay.
It's a one sentence
Alright.
NI power punch, right
That
to the
sounds
gut
like
of
it.
everybody there.
Yeah.
He didn't need a lot of words to get his point across.
Was Joseph an ISFJ? ISFP, I mean?
Joseph?
Yeah.
I mean, I think Joseph's an ISTJ.
Oh. Oh, he was a carpenter, I think.
Yeah, he liked to work with his hands. He taught Jesus how to do it, even though Jesus was T.E. Polar. You know, nobody said Jesus was a good carpenter.
No one has said that. No.
He obviously left the carpentry business for the purpose of explaining to everybody about forgiveness and stuff. It makes me think he cared more about what matters than what's important, which is classic INFJ, ENTP, ENFJ move. The Eagles almost ran in for a touchdown, but we don't want that to happen.
No,
We want Jalen Hurts to get the touchdown and or Devonta Smith. It looks like they're going to do a, right? You didn't listen to the referees. I don't think that play counts. Yeah, it doesn't count. There's a flag going on there. Well, he was sort of a reluctant rebel, it seems like. He wasn't even, advocating that people particularly challenge the existing social norms. Rather, he was advocating something that probably shouldn't have upset people as much as it did. Moses. I'm going to say Moses was an ESTP.
He did have to, climb up a mountain, right?
We had to lead the people out of Israel.
Oh, an ESTP would definitely be able to do that.
Noah probably STJ of some sort with his ark building. I think Job seems very anti-polar as well. ESTJ, God does all these horrible things to him, and he feels as though it's wonderful because he's learned something important in these trials and tribulations. But I'm not sure that's intuitively correct conclusion to draw from having your wife turned into a pillar of salt. The thing is, Job really should have used that salt in cooking. So he could always taste the flavor of his salty wife, even after she was gone. I mean, if God turned my wife into a pillar of salt for turning around, I would not conclude that he's a just God I should obey and believe in. That's just not what one would intuitively conclude from that. Looks like Jalen Hurts got the touchdown.
Oh, that's good. I thought they ran it in.
Well, they did run it in, but it looked like it was a quarterback sneak.
Oh, good.
And I think you still get the points even if he gets the touchdown on the ground.
Oh, all right.
Joseph and his multicolored dream coat. ENFP. That's a possibility. Yeah. Or ESFP.
Or ESFP, yeah.
Either one likes to go bold or go home, in their wardrobe choices.
It's true.
The Golden Globes are coming on relatively soon. I was thinking Rachel and I could do a little fashion.
We are.
Fashion episode where we do maybe a live stream or maybe an upload of critiquing the fashion choices of the various celebrities appearing at the Golden Globes.
Yeah, we're the new fashion police.
That's right. You could call us the Fashion Patrol.
Okay.
Because we don't just police, people who break the fashion law. We're there to patrol and report on people's fashion successes as well.
True. I wonder if Aquafina would be there. I hope so. And Sandra Oh for the quiz lady.
Yeah, she should. Both of them should win an award. That movie should win a lot of awards. It's fantastic. It should win more awards than children in a non-competitive participation activity. You would have plenty of salt if you were Job, if you went back and collected the pillar of salt that your wife had become. But I'm pretty sure he just left it there for the cows to lick.
Christmas kitty! Mommy, Daddy, Tapia. Yes.
Who's that guy who betrayed Jesus and turned him in? What's his name? He was the Benedict Arnold of the Bible. What was his name? I forget. That would be a dangerous one to type, right? Because nobody wants to be the type of that guy. I think Samson, with his kind of sneaky effy way of figuring out whose baby it was, by saying, I'm going to rule that we'll cut the baby in half, and whichever woman is more upset by that ruling, that must be her baby. That seems like a very ENFJ move. No, I do have my cigarettes. Good. Judas. That's right, Judas. What type is Judas? I don't know. Regardless, I think it's fair to say that he was toxic. He may have suffered from childhood abuse. You don't really hear anybody named Judas either, because stop smelling my baby. Um, and it's like, if you were really unaware of history and you're a parent, you might name your son Adolf Judas. Adolf Judas Kim Jong Un Strauss. But Joseph Stalin didn't really ruin the name Joseph. People still get named Joseph. I don't know if people are named Mao very often. Mao Tse Tung. Dung. Uh, People still name their kid Karl, Karl, maybe. Even though Karl Marx was one of the worst things that ever in history. People still name their children Caligula all the time. And he was known as rather a horrible and depraved despot, so. Adolf Judas Caligula Strauss. I think Judas is an ESTP. There's this song I sang a long time ago, Stop Smelling My Baby. And I don't really remember the whole song, but the beginning part of it goes, Stop smelling my baby. I think. I do think that Samson's baby chopping move resonates with them, yeah. Because, Samson never really planned to chop the baby in half. I think we can feel comfortable that it was never his intention. Samson is a big name for a baby. Well, I did name my daughter Delilah, who's most famous for cutting off someone's hair. I named her after history's most famous barber. The thing is, I'm pretty sure Samson's belief that his hair was responsible for his strength was just psychosomatic. He may have been schizophrenic. And probably Delilah was just trying to show him, hey, look, you have the same strength no matter what length your hair is. Those two things do not link. I'm going to cut it off and show you. But he was so attached to the notion that he faked being extra weak just so that he could prove to her that her hair was linked to his strength. His hair, I mean. And she didn't even cut it that short. He still had a good length mullet, so. I think she's one of the more misunderstood characters in the Bible, Delilah. She always wanted the best for Samson and everybody else, but Samson was a fool. What was the little drummer boy? Might have been an ISTP. But it's hard to say because lots of different types end up taking up an instrument. They just tend to play them in different ways. Like, Ruben learns a lot of different guitar things, it seems like. Whereas I don't spend much time learning how to play anything. And then, of course, Ruben doesn't necessarily remember what he learns, I don't think. I have trouble with that, too. But you get like an ISFJ like Dave, he's got all kinds of stuff memorized. Me, instead of learning how to play something or memorizing a song or something, I sing Stop Smelling My Baby. And please don't boil me alive. I'm not even 5 times ready enough for that. Don't boil me alive. I have got a hive of bees now. Geez, won't you leave, please, please? Don't boil me alive.
That's about medieval. That was like about a medieval painting, wasn't it?
Maybe. Yeah. Was it one of those paintings by like that the guy who paints hell and the devil and stuff?
Yeah, yeah, those like medieval.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess that probably is what it was from. I don't remember. Oh, the Giants dropped a pass, and the Eagles almost picked it up, but did not. I can tell you my love for you must still be strong after the boys of summer are gone. I guess it therefore is strong in the status quo if it's going to still be strong. But why would she think that his love for her had anything to do with the Boys of Summer anyway.
Oh.
Like, is he saying, I'm still going to love you after baseball season? No, I wouldn't eat people unless I had zero choice, you know. Because it's gross, here alone. Nobody wants to eat people. Long pork, it's called. So, so far so good with the Eagles. And we just need to see not just Jalen Hurts perform well, but also that receiver.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes. You can buy an Acura for just $600 a month for 30 months. Seems like a lot. I can't play music, but I make ambient, moody music for fun. Well, that's cool. I mean, it's good to have some kind of creative outlet. If it gives you a sense of making something, you know. Winter's very uninspiring musically. That might be true. I feel kind of inspired now to write a song about how winter's uninspiring musically.
I want you to do that. I think it would be a hit. It would take over Santa Baby or All I Want for Christmas Is You.
Yeah. I feel cozy in winter, maybe more creative. I don't know. My creativity doesn't seem to be a seasonal thing. It seems to be a somewhat cyclical thing, though. Like, I'll go fallow for a while, and then I'll go through a very, you know, like a big creative phase. I've been kind of fallow for a long time, but not exactly. So I have made a couple of things, but I've been consuming a lot of media, and consuming a lot of media is part of why I'm fallow because it it fills you with new references, and you integrate those into what you're doing one way or another. You know, it's like you're influenced by them somewhat. Um, you feel like you're operating in a refreshed aesthetic landscape after some stretch of time. But I really do like my cone putters song. I mean, sign holder song, but uh, I probably would really need to change the lyrics somewhat because they're kind of silly lyrics. And I think it's a good song, and so it deserves to have lyrics written for it, really, rather than just whatever I make up.
Wait, which one? But how does sign holders
Be safe and wear your hard hat, bright green safety vest, and modesty pants. Your sign says slow, but you wave me fast as my wife and I confusedly drive past.
Then there's the
I have a chorus that doesn't have any.
putting some cones.
Yeah, that's cone photos. That doesn't have any real future beyond its existing manifestation. But the sign holder song does, I think, because I even have the kind of chords and melody for the chorus to it, but I don't have any words for it.
What do you think that cone putters and sign holders do for Christmas?
Probably get a couple delineators and put them out around their house.
Oh, that's a way to celebrate.
Yeah. Well, it does, and I think that's especially true, perhaps, for me, who's not consciously a receiver. or at least not an NI receiver. It's and I'm not especially active with my SI, right? So what that ends up meaning is I don't consciously know to remember all the stuff I've consumed. I doubt anybody really does, but uh, it informs what I'm doing because it expands my understanding of the existing landscape of people doing stuff, and may influence me in other ways too. But there are other things I can do as creative endeavors besides just music as well, and hopefully I'll do some of those.
Smith?
That is Smith. Yeah. Good job, Smith. Devontae Smith just got a first down, number 6. So we'll keep an eye on him as well as Jalen Hurts, number 1. And we'll see how they do in this football game. No dice on that pass. I get more creative when the absolute values are taken care of, but the F's and the S are aligned. I feel constantly inspired. I mean, I think that may be the case for me as well. But certainly, it seems hard to argue that my absolute values aren't taken care of in the status quo. But being an any dom, I guess I kind of spill creativity all the time, even when I'm not being creative. I was just walking around, talking to myself, singing little songs, whatever. None of which kind of counts because it's just to myself or to Rachel or whatever. Because not doesn't comprise piece of media in any sense. May get referenced later on in a live stream or something. Yeah, and hanging out with Ruben really drove home the point that you can't type somebody from the chat.
No, you can't.
Ruben's a lot less quippy in person than he is in the chat.
It's true.
That's why winter drains me. There's nothing going on in winter. Mostly nobody around in the city. You can snowboard, but I feel a drop of energy in the winter. Well, biologically, with the longer nights, we're likely to sleep a little bit more in the winter because there's just less daytime. But it's also the case that colder weather requires more energy to move around in. Your body burns more calories or whatever. So
it is supposed to be like a time of rest.
Yeah. They have Christmas in December because it doesn't interfere with any agricultural stuff.
Really?
Yeah, like all your crops are done harvested by November. You don't start planting again until the spring. It's hard to say when that spring starts depending on where you live, but for everyone it's not December unless you're in the southern hemisphere. It's good to be shy. Chicks dig it. Well, no. Well, their boyfriends are never going to like you if you're another dude, and their girlfriends like into you, obviously. I mean, I think it's true because at a resting state, your body has to do more work if it's cold to stay warm than it does at a resting state if it's warm. But I'm not sure how how much. Oh, well, cool. I've never been a shy person, but it's fair to say that for a fair amount of my life, I was push shy. I didn't, I didn't feel like I knew how to talk to girls or whatever.
That's tough, though.
I don't see ENFPs really doing that. I don't know a lot of ENFPs. The ENFP that I have as an example more than any other is Les, our neighbor. Um, I don't know him well or anything.
No.
So I do know that every Sunday he blasts classical music at his house.
You think it's every Sunday?
I'm pretty sure. Seems like a weekly routine. I've heard it on multiple Sundays, and I haven't heard it on any other days. So I'm gonna say probably. Most girls are really nice. Well, I don't know. I think most people are pretty nice. You know, it's not like being a dick really gets you anywhere in life. In certain industries, in certain contexts, sure, but by and large, being pleasant, nice, agreeable gets you further in life. Take it from somebody who's tried the alternative plenty of times. Yeah, but you aren't banging men. Well, I'm not banging girls either. I'm just banging Rachel.
Yeah. What you tell me about? Oh man.
Are most people nice? I'd like to think so, but I don't. Of course, it depends on your frame of reference. I mean, most people you don't have very deep engagements with, so it's easy for them to be nice to you, you know? So, from a given person's perspective, I think it's fair to say most people are nice, and or at least most engagements with people end up being nice engagements. But but how they are at home or in their personal lives, you see plenty of suboptimal behavior from people. Like I don't really love the way that the neighbors yell at their kids a lot. The neighbor lady does, but
Yeah.
at the same time, I'll acknowledge that I've never heard her be violent with them or anything like that. And she just seems kind of loud in general. Sometimes I hear her not yelling at the kids, just being loud. Men overthink girls. Well, intuitives overthink girls. You know, if you talk to an INTP and ENTP, an INFP, maybe an ENFP, but probably especially your NTPs are gonna really overthink girls. INFJs, typically aren't the most traditionally masculine men, but will probably do pretty well anyway. Uh, it's your SE backslot types that tend to overthink girls, and it's because uh, it's because you know we want to work out all the possibilities before we try to do anything, and that's just not how dealing with you know mating rituals and stuff works. According to YT, relationships are over. Well, YT says all kinds of dumbass shit.
My mom's calling now.
All right, yeah, sure. Or you want to play your game or what?
I just don't feel like talking right now.
It's Christmas.
Merry Christmas!
Merry Christmas!
How's your day
How
going?
are you? Good, thank you. I'm just leaving my friend's house. We had a very nice dinner there.
Oh, what time is it?
It's 5:11 in the East Coast.
What did you guys have for dinner?
She actually picked up dinner from a restaurant, and they had like a meal like it. She didn't even have to make any choice.
I should call Delilah at some point today too. Now that I hear Rachel talking to her family. Well, I tell you what. Why don't we, while she's on the phone and this commercial out here, why don't we go around the side of the house here to the back area and go pee while we're smoking? That's called multitasking. That's true multitasking. I'm getting a task accomplished, two tasks accomplished, and at the same time frame that it would take one task to get accomplished. There. Don't worry. I've got the camera adjusted just right. So you don't have to see me peeing. But we still get to spend quality time together. And I don't know if you guys know this, but quality time is my primary love language. There's people talking over there, but I position myself so I cannot be seen from the street. Ah, it's not really multitasking if I don't light the cigarette, is it? That's the power of extroverted sensing. It can do two different things at the same time. Can walk and chew gum, can pee and smoke a cigarette. And of course, I don't know if this is true for everybody, but I seem to do a pretty good job of N'ing and S'ing at the same time. And it's because it's my 1A, you know. All right. Well, we're done with our foray into the field of urination. Now we shall return to the front of the house. Feels good to have all that urine out of me. I feel like a deflated balloon now. Which is, of course, the best kind of balloon to feel like. When I go inside in a moment, Eric doesn't mind sharing. Rubenar, what do you feel about feelings policed? I don't mind sharing with you my my urination time. That's true. I feel like it's the least I can do. It's Christmas Day. INFJ androgynous and not good at being assertive. We overthink and struggle in the moment to come across well. Well, it is the case that I think NFJs understand FE on kind of a broader level. Like SFJs have an advantage in engaging in any particular social instance because they've got access to SI stories, you know. But I don't doubt that NFJs consistently manage just fine, maybe even better than they think they do, at least INFJs. INFJs probably have a little bit more self doubt than ENFJs. Well, that's a good observation, Commander. I do believe that one of the reasons Rachel likes me is because I'm very easy to read. You know, it's like I'm not I'm not keeping any secrets and I'm not being indirect in any way. It makes it really easy for an FE tool user to understand me all the time. I'm very open about really, you know, everything from what makes me happy to what makes me unhappy to my vulnerabilities to whatever. She's not gonna have to figure anything out really with me. I'm proactive in talking about it. I have self doubt and it weighs on me sometimes, but normally occupied with realizing a vision and frustration around that. Yeah, well, realizing visions is a lot harder than having them. I have a vision of a world free from cancer. I have a vision of a world free from college admissions essays. And Jeffrey's mom is so unipolar. Yeah, it's like he's applying to what is it, Princeton or something, um, as a philosophy major with the plan that he's going to actually change in the major he wants, which is like electrical engineering or something when he gets in, if he gets in. Now, whether or not this is a good plan is, you know, an open question. Certainly, it's not an honest approach, but how can you be honest at all with the college admissions process? It's fundamentally uh, broken. Uh, Regardless, so his mom's like, well, okay, he's applying in philosophy. Should we, in his essay, should he not talk about his STEM stuff so that, because the college might suspect that he's pulling this move? Well, I mean, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, right? If you're pulling that move, then then you're always going to have some background in what you actually want to do. That stuff is beneficial in the sense that it's an accomplishment of yours or whatever, and so you want the college to know all your accomplishments, but you want them to believe you're going into philosophy. Well, I mean, you know, it's like, how do you balance all of that shit, right? You don't know what they're looking for exactly when they read the essays. So there's no reason to try to refine your essay such that it only focuses on philosophy stuff because you're going to philosophy major. You don't even know if the person reading the essay is from the philosophy department. So the thing is, like I said to her, basically, okay, well, why do you believe they're going to prioritize this over that? And she didn't have any answers to why she believed that. She just said, you know, I'm worried that, yeah. Well, you could worry about infinite things, but only antipolar does this horrible nightmare thing that I hate. Because, well, we don't know what they're going to want in this essay. So let's mix a bunch of different ingredients in there because you don't know what ingredients they want. Well, I mean, the point of that making us whatever is that it's the right mix of the right ingredients. It's not just we don't know if they like soup or salad, so let's mix in together soup and salad. And a polar wants to do that all the time. It's TE interface with particularist knowing. And so they're trying to interface this, they're trying to game it all the time. They're trying to game everything. And sometimes the best way to game something is to stop trying to get ahead of the people doing the evaluation and just do your best shit and let it stand on its merits and assume the evaluators can tell quality, right? But an interfacer doesn't want to use that action deliberation kind of approach, right? They just want to know how to work the system. But in doing so, they're destroying how the system works, Like Jeffrey's essays are all at this point so far removed from anything that he authentically generated. What with the college counselor getting her hands all over everything, and then me trying to fix all that mess, and then there being this whole like admissions essay by committee thing going on, which is fucking a nightmare for me, obviously, and having to battle against Chawa's totally random positions on things, unjustified by any fact except her worries. And the difficulty in explaining to her that her polar matters, like that an essay should be a singular thing. It's not a chance to show your everything. It's a chance to, well, I mean, you can interpret it two ways, right? Like it's either a chance to use SI and talk about your previous accomplishments, achievements, etc. Or it's a chance to use NI and show what a good writer and insightful thinker you are. I believe the second course of action is the better course of action, but she believes the first course of action is the better course of action. Concurrently, she's hiring me to help him. So it's like, okay, I don't want to play guy who does work, comes back and finds it's been undone or redone by some other idiot who doesn't know what they're talking about. And I don't want to help you make essays that I think are bad into better bad essays. I will help you make good essays, but I don't like this approach, and I genuinely don't think it's a good idea to use this approach. So why would I facilitate it? I don't think it's in his best interest or anybody's best interest. And it's like she's so worried about putting down anything controversial or combative or challenging. But the thing is, this is supposed to be an educational environment where ideas are tested, where intellects are actually engaged. A college environment needs some iconoclasts, obviously. It's a nightmare of intellectual conformity, the status quo. and conformity to things that are intellectually bereft, that don't withstand any kind of argumentational scrutiny. Like, one thing that annoys me is this thing where it's like, use this word, and they're like, it's too specialized a term or something. Okay, you're applying to Princeton, and you're worried that the people who are reading this are too dumb to understand it, while concurrently you're worried that they're too philosophy focused to accept this, while concurrently you're worried that Jeffrey might come across as not interdisciplinary enough. Well, those things are all contradicting each other. You know, you got to have a reason to prioritize one or over the other. You're just talking at your ass. And talking at your ass to me about what should be done in a piece of writing is ridiculous because, you know, I don't think there's really anybody on the planet who can do a better job of what I'm doing right now than I can. I'm an excellent writer, and I have a good understanding of what pops, you know, and what doesn't pop. You want to stand out and be remembered, is my opinion, not blend in and rise to the top of the blend, you know. But who knows how the current education environment would respond to somebody speaking the truth in their essays. It seems kind of vigorously defensive against the truth and the status quo. Okay, cool. Merry Christmas. Well, I mean, it depends on each individual person's status quo, really. There's nothing oppositional to Rachel and her status quo, but in the previous status quo, there certainly was plenty oppositional to her.
Pizza's so good. Like, I keep on going back.
Good, I'm glad. Well, it's not that it lacks TI potency, it's that he's trying to craft himself into the candidate they want, rather than being the candidate he is and trusting in its value and legitimacy. Ruben's not an ISFP. Ruben's an ENFJ. Hero Land's the ISFP. Find that studied, referenced, are stressed in their applicability. However, they want from professors to have all kinds of references. Well, I mean, I don't think professors are reading college admissions essays. As much as I can be accomplished in a certain discipline that will allow me to branch into others, is that not true, Eric? Not necessarily. Depends on the discipline. Like, you could say that mastering grammar is useful for things other than grammar, but I mean, obviously, good ideas and explanations, they invariably inform each other, right? Because they're correct. But it's not necessarily the case that specialization improves ability to branch into other disciplines at all. Depends on the specialization. Like typology, understanding typology allows you to understand a lot of things much, much better than anybody can possibly understand them without understanding that people manifest their being through attentional manners. But would that allow you to branch into other disciplines? It certainly informs many questions in many disciplines, resolves a lot of confusion, that, especially in psychology and stuff. But it probably would be incorrect to say that Hey, Smith got a 36-yard TD catch.
Yeah.
So in the second quarter with 11 minutes left, the Eagles already have 17 points. This is turning out as I had hoped. So far, game's not over yet, but it's time to pull some bowls. I can actually discuss things with NTs. SS will refer to a thing. Well, that's probably true. I mean, with NTPs, you've got a wholly ideational focus. So they're less likely to reference a lot of particular instances. NFJs are also unlikely to reference particular instances. NTPs are more likely to reference them. Some NTJs are ideationally active, but not very good at it. Like look at Elon Musk. He's got a lot of ideas, and they're successful, but not particularly novel or interesting ideas. And when he's dealing with more complicated ideational concerns, he seems to kind of fall apart. What do I think of the Big Five? I think it's complete garbage. And because the thing is, well, all functions except for extroverted intuition are non are not about novelty, originality, and creation of new things. That doesn't mean that people who don't have extroverted intuition in the first or second slot can't be original, novel, creative. They certainly can. It's just that it's unfair to single out TE as lacking originality. Originality is expressed through extroverted intuition, not through any other function, really. So it's like we have to be able to generate new things as part of humanity's being, but but you know, that's one of a number of things humans need to be able to pay attention to in order to survive. They need to not just have some capacity for originality, but they need to have some capacity for referencing past events and their particularist experience to inform them. They need to have some ability to use their intuition to inform them when particular stuff um, is not informative. They need the ability to figure out how to ordinate a solution, at least somewhat, when they have to figure out how to solve something. That's important too, and that's TE. They have to figure out how to interface with other human beings in ways that are palatable to those human beings and get the results they want, and that's FE. The proper comparison against TI is FI. Both FI and TI are deliberation functions, and they're both comparatively slow to against, say, knowledge functions. Interface functions are predicated on knowledge, so they're assuming a dynamic system in which they engage in some fashion with this unique logic. It informs them with data, and then they adjust, inform, adjust, inform, adjust. So it's not that it lacks depth. It's just that TI is a universalist logic, so it naturally is going to apply to everybody if it's done well. When we use language to communicate ideas, we can test those ideas with introverted thinking to make sure they're consistent with either, axioms or what we're treating as axioms, things that aren't in dispute. So, TI and FI are both the slowest, most thoughtful kind of functions. And That doesn't mean they're deeper. It just means they're what they are.
Is the best beat that you ever.
Wait. Oh, I guess not. I tried to answer it, but I didn't. So I don't want to work again on essays today, but I might later, but not right now. I didn't mean to red thing him. I pushed the green thing, I think.
Maybe it was a mistake call.
Maybe. Is this stuff in books? No, I mean, no, it's not. This is stuff I've figured out and articulated about Jungian cognitive functions. In other words, I took Jung's unparsed NI idea and I figured out how to turn it into a model of a dynamic system. And to understand what that means, you first have to get the distinction between a model and something else. Like you can think about the solar system, a model where the sun's in the middle and the planets go around in their various orbits and stay appropriately distant from one another. Well, in that system, you've got objects, planets, really agents, planets that move, a central object, the sun, that doesn't move. You've got a field, which is outer space, and a vector, which is the circular directionality and pace of the various things, And when you look at that model, you understand that it successfully models the solar system without successfully modeling everything in the solar system. So it can ignore things like comets, asteroids, whatever, because by and large, they don't have any impact on the orbits of the planets. Similarly with the moons around the planets, you don't need to include those to have the system be correctly modeled. So using the solar system as a analogy, or as an analog here, to cognitive functions, when we look at trying to model the dynamic system of humans existing in the world, and we try to figure out the fields, there are 4 fields upon which humans pay attention. External metaphysical field, which is what we're doing right now, paying attention to words, stuff like that, being on the internet and reading things, etc. Consider it. The library is the first example of the external metaphysical field, but now it's the internet. External physical field, where we actually do things like move tables and impact physical stuff. The internal physical field, where we feel our own body, whether we have to go poo and stuff, and if we're sleepy, if we're in pain or feeling fine or whatever. And then the internal metaphysical field, where we think thoughts but don't speak them out loud and have ideas and such, that kind of stuff. That's not the best beat that I've ever heard. No, despite my claim to the contrary in the beat itself, it is absolutely not.
Yeah, it's one that you want to get rid of, right?
Yeah, I just thought it would be funny to put as my ringtone, but then now I'm just like annoyed by it. When you're in the library and you see a librarian with a nice ass, is that metaphysical? No, here I am. That would be operating on the external physical field for sure. So yes, libraries are technically physical places, but when I mean the library, I mean if the time you're spending reading various books, looking in the Dewey Decimal System for where they are, etc., that's all metaphysical action mostly. And with metaphysicality, you're either putting or you're getting, usually, or receiving information, So in the library, you're getting information. And here I'm putting information. If you're listening to it, if you're, to some extent, if you're just listening to this, since you're not seeking out the specific information, you're not asking me any. If you're not asking me any questions about like, I want to know more, can you answer about this? Then you're getting information. But if you're just listening to this and sort of taking it in and seeing what resonates, understanding some of it, just letting some of it just pass by or whatever, then you're receiving information. Big Five doesn't is not more behavioral or anything like that. It's a disastrous wrongness. So it tries to understand human personality as five attributes that people have, but people don't have these attributes, right? They're just labels that we put on certain kinds of expressions of self. So it's an arbitrary taxonomy of something that's actually explained by cognitive functions. It's misleading accordingly since it's just metaphorical, and it only links back to itself in terms of validity. So it's circular. Thus, we should dismiss it entirely. It is not useful for business assessments, except insofar as you could say conscientiousness might be useful. Ultimately, for any business assessment, you need to assess the individual on the skills you're actually going to have them employing. So when I was hiring people and I hired a debate coach, I didn't require any particular thing for them to have before they applied. They didn't need to have a college degree or anything. Because when they came in, I was checking to see if they were actually competent to do debate coaching. In other words, they know about debate. You have to have actual skills there. So like things I was looking for on a resume were competition, policy, debate experience, preferably successful at a high level. But it was ultimately contingent on the interview who I hired, because anybody can put whatever on a resume. Nobody can fake knowing about debate. There are plenty of questions I can ask um, that that would inform me, like, which of the following things can you perm? A competing framework, a critique, a counterplan. And why?
Yeah, you can't fake that. Like, I wouldn't be able to. I wouldn't know that.
Right. So, and, the person either is exposed or displays that they know what they're talking about. They're like, well, perm is permute, which means to say, we'll do both. We'll do both what the neg is advocating and what the app is advocating. So you can perm a counterplan provided it's not exclusive, because they're advocating let's do this instead, and you're saying, well, we can do both. You can't perm a critique, because a critique is not an advocacy that says we should do something else, but rather it's saying something fundamental in how you're debating probably is unacceptable. So we shouldn't evaluate case level arguments at all. We should decide the round in this way, in my favor, because they've committed some egregious error. That's not the only kind of critique, but it's a good enough example. And then lastly, regarding the conflicting framework, you obviously can't perm a conflicting framework because it's mutually exclusive of your own framework, and therefore it's impossible to apply both without generating contradictions. Rounds are used for time. Rounds are defined by timed elements in them, speeches, question and answer periods. But the thing about a debate round is it's like a chess match. If you map the round correctly, there shouldn't be any doubt about who won it. It's called the flow. So what you do is you write down everybody's case level contentions, everybody's rebuttals to each of those case level contentions, the answers to those rebuttals. And you you demonstrate on the flow the links back to framework and the any prefer my framework arguments, and then by the end of the round you'll have some things that are designated voters because the debaters successfully argued it should be evaluated as a voter and won that argument or it went unanswered, right? And you have to just compare the various voters against the framework links, see if the frameworks are wash, or if they're arguing under the same framework, then you resolve the round one way. Anyway, the point is, it's not, when done right, there's nothing really subjective about debate judging. Not every debate judge is doing it right. But again, I'm talking about policy debate here, which always has the best judges in it, and they're almost always former policy debaters or policy coaches. So, you can't really get lay people to judge a policy debate round. No, it doesn't favor quick over slow thinking at all, because you have a long time to prepare for the debate. So you've got cases made on app and neg that are well prepared. If you've got a good coach, he's gone over with you all the possible rebuttals, what kind of rebuttals you're likely to face, and how to answer them. So, in fact, if I do a good job as a debate coach, there's nothing my debaters encounter in a round that they aren't prepared for. They have evidence cut to answer it. If I've done a great job as a debate coach, all those answers are unique, which is to say they're specific to, or not unique, I'm sorry. They are all non-generic, which is to say they're specific to the contention level, argumentation, and the specific warrant, rather than a generic argument against that kind of argument. So the most well-prepared debaters have answers at the ready for everything they encounter, and those answers are specific to the warrants of the arguments being made. Obviously, NTPs have an advantage in debate, but I wouldn't say it's because debate favors quick thinking. It's more like because debate favors quick thinking when there's something you haven't prepared for. Debate rewards deep thinking. So quick deep thinking over slow deep thinking is understandably preferable. Well, that's why you have generics. So even if you don't have a specific response to an argument that says we shouldn't drone strike people in the Middle East because it causes blowback, and somehow drone striking is an inevitable harm of this advocacy that you have that may or may not be directly related to drone striking, right? So let's say I don't have a response to that. Well, maybe I have a general response that says hegemony good. It's a good idea for the U.S. to play a leadership role in the world, and that means getting involved in doing stuff. So it doesn't answer the warrant of the card directly, but it's something that's responsive to it that will mitigate some of the impacts established by your opponent, right? If you're a really good coach, then your kids' AFs, for the first few rounds of a tournament at least, before you start getting scouted out, catch people off guard. Your negs catch people off guard. And they've not encountered that argument before, they aren't prepared for it adequately, etc. But there's only so much of that you can do because the frames of the resolution or topic area and other kind of debate stuff, it makes it such that that ultimately, a super experienced debate coach like me, you never encounter any arguments you haven't heard, right? Everything is at the very least an example of meow kind of argument, which you understand is working in meow fashion in the overall economy of dialectic. So, uh, sure, it calls upon debaters to be, good thinkers all the time, basically. They have to identify that this argument that they're reading with this author's name is the same argument as the one I prepared them for here, even if it's phrased a little differently, right? So it requires that kind of thinking, which I say is more of an NI thing, really, than anything. Well, there are basically a finite number of possible arguments when you're talking about any kind of policy advocacy, because all the arguments one might make are predicated on one of two possible frameworks: either utilitarianism, which is an impact focused, problem outcome focused framework, or it's operates under a legitimacy framework in which you're saying we shouldn't advance to the second in the order of questions, namely the issue of its of the impact calculus, because it hasn't passed any legitimacy tests. So, or we should do this because it best upholds legitimacy concerns. If you're on the app, Well, you're not advocating for clean water for all people because that's not a plan. What you're saying is it would be nice if everybody had clean water. If you were advocating in favor of something, it would have to be an actual plan. Like, I advocate in favor of legislation, that provides clean water to everybody. Yes, well, most of what I explain about debate is nothing I made up, right? Debate's been going on for a long time, and it's had decades of very smart people working through all the possible frames of argumentation, understanding what they all do. There's a lot of jargon to name different kinds of arguments, etc. Some of the terms I use are terms I made up, like because I needed them for coaching, like flow pacting. Flow pacting is not a term you'll ever hear in any debate thing, but it's what I tell my kids, to express to them the difference between how to impact arguments in most of the speeches versus how to impact arguments in the final speech, where you really need to flow pact it, which is to say, direct your judge's attention directly to the flow. If you look on the flow here, Judge, in contention 3, you will note that meow, meow, meow. This is a voter in the round because of meow, 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 and it's definitively so. It's clear on all of our flows, etc. Right? So I do use some terms that are not commonly used, but most of the terms I use that you hear: framework, criteria, value criterion, critique, perm, counterplan, af, neg, contention level arguments, warrants, claims, impacts, impact calculi, magnitude, time frame, probability. Those are all very normalized debate terms. You could find plenty on the internet about all of this stuff. There's a lot of stuff about policy debate on the internet. And Lincoln Douglas debate. Welcome, man 3. I like to say, I'm not smart, I'm just correct. Because ultimately, I'd much rather be correct than smart. Now you might say, that's a pretty smart thing to say, Eric. And I wouldn't disagree with you. But you know what? The point is, even dumb people say smart things. And the things should be evaluated on their merits, not based on the person who said it. Get away, Jalen Hurts. Good job. Throw it. Good. Is that to number 6? No, it's 14.
No.
Still, that's it. As long as the touchdown is a pass, at least Jalen Hurts will get points for it.
True.
Show Media says, I think I'm dumb. Well, okay. The nice thing is, smart and dumb don't really matter. I become so dumb, all I want to do is be more like me and less like you. Well, I'm glad that I play so central a role in your in your self-concept. I may not set a good example for show media, but I set a good example of what to avoid. All right, we're going to do a little bit of grindage because somebody whose name rhymes with Barrack is out of ground weed.
No, Christmas.
Not this Christmas, darling. We're going to grind some more right now. Ask not what your Eric can do for you. Ask what you can do for your Eric. I'd say ask neither of those questions. You should probably say, what can I do for myself? The thing is, John Kennedy, neither of the questions. Ask not what your country could do for you, or what you could do for your country. None of those are good questions. You should ask, what ought our represented officials, elected officials, what ought they be doing to uphold and further the goals and interests of the United States of America? That's what we should be asking. It's not our job as citizens to help the country. It's the elected officials' jobs to uphold and further the values and interests of the country with their policies and let individuals live their lives as individuals, not as, how can I help America? That's just silly, right? I mean, I'm not saying one might not at some point in one's life feel a duty to serve the public. I hopefully shall manifest that reality myself in the coming years. I don't know why JFK was assassinated. I don't really have any idea why. I don't think that politically he was particularly anti-business or anything. Certainly, the president doesn't write laws. They don't write bills and they don't pass them. They only have the capacity to sign such. Sure, presidents sometimes have a legislative agenda which they pursue and implement more or less successfully. But I'd point out that Obama managed to get the Affordable Care Act passed, even though it's a disastrously bad nightmare clusterfuck of legislative overreach and Supreme Court buttfuckery, calling that a tax. It's ridiculous. It's clearly a penalty.
Come on, Devonta Smith.
The ADL, I think one should scrutinize. Well, I'm not sure who this ADL is, but maybe they should be scrutinized. Who knows?
Are the Niners on next?
Yep.
Cool.
I think we have to be careful using our intuition sometimes on some of that stuff. Like, you can find any number of events preceding his assassination and try to link his assassination to any of them and probably create a link story. Basically, I'm skeptical of link stories. And there are link stories in debate as well. If you're trying to say, if we do his affirmation, it will lead to nuclear war, you're going to end up generating a link story that's constructed of one or more pieces of evidence that says this is how this is going to happen. Well, it's easier for people to understand why those kind of link stories, you have to be very skeptical of them because they're articulating everything playing out a certain way while only accounting for a certain number of vectors. But the reality is we need to have the same amount of skepticism towards intuiting from limited but varying pieces of data any particular, explanation kind of story about historical events. If we don't have good evidence to conclude one thing or another, then our intuition is trying to know what's fundamentally unknowable. That can cause problems because, like, take evolution for example. People want to know an answer, and they don't like that the answer is we don't know how speciation came about. We can fully reject that evolution explains it. It fails to meet its burden to affirm. But people go, well, it's better than nothing. No, it's not. It's definitely not. The wrong explanation or a failed attempt to explain is not better than the correct answer. We have failed to explain it. But because a lot of the population, have knowing one to, they're going to try to know everything rather than deliberate things. And I guess it's more satisfying to feel like you know an explanation than that you know the truth, that there is no good explanation. Anti-Defamation League, an instance, let's say, well, I mean, it may have impacted how some people understand what happened, but each of us engages with information he or she attends to according to how they attend to it. So if JFK, for example, I don't think I've seen the movie, but if it's, which I suspect it is, a bunch of put things next to each other and then collect a bunch of things and put them next to each other to present the appearance of a circumstantial case, so to speak, for a given understanding of what happened, I would likely respond badly to that and say, oh my God, what an irresponsible filmmaker, yada, yada, yada. Because that's how I expect rigor when trying to explain things, not here, intuit from this hand-picked pile of things, right? That's intuit from this hand-picked pile of things is not going to produce correct explanations. I'd be more likely to correctly intuit from a bunch of information in many instances than somebody who's using introverted intuition consciously, because I'm engaging intuitively but deliberatively. So I'm less likely to get caught objectively deliberatively. So I'm less likely to get caught by intuitive pitfalls like unsubstantiated stuff that attempts to appear substantiated by putting a bunch of stuff next to each other. Anti-Defamation League. In this sense, the anti-Semitism went up 400%. I wonder if it's intentional. I mean, how do you measure something like that? Anti-Semitism is something that happens either on the external metaphysical field or the internal metaphysical field. Even if somebody who's anti-Semitic acts out against some Jewish people, the act itself is not anti-Semitic. It's just a crime against somebody who is anti-Semitic and has been motivated to commit that crime, perhaps by their anti-Semitism. But the thing is, by and large, a person's anti-Semitism is not something you can measure because it's not something that they extrovert a whole bunch, right? Regardless, I am somewhat annoyed because it seems clear to me that Israel, or interests thereof, are willfully trying to obscure the difference between anti-Israel policy and anti-Semitism. And that pisses me off because it's irresponsible. So, shame on those commercials.
It's really bad. Like, I hate those commercials too. Mixing the two.
Yeah. I want to make a commercial that says, "Stop trying to hide behind being Jewish, Israel. You're doing a disservice to all the Jews of the world by insisting that agreeing with your public policy, no matter how fucking abhorrent it is the only way one can avoid being anti-Semitic. It's fucking insulting and crazy."
You said it.
Yeah. Well, this is what it's called being correct, right? Have you heard this narrative in the public discussion of this whole anti-Semitism thing? I haven't. I just observed that it was so and started saying it. But, it's like I have 4 people here, and I'm sure somebody who's ranting on either side of the subject has shit tons more.
It's true.
Of course, one could reasonably point out that no viewer should expect to hear such commentary when I title the video NFL Watch Party. Israel is make real critiques, come man. Okay, a real critique of Israel is that their policy towards the Palestinians is repugnant. That obviously, if they're going to isolate the Palestinians in their own little area, the least they could do is let them govern themselves, especially given the relatively recent history of the totally unwarranted land grab executed by the Allied powers after World War II. It's only fair and just. Your current apartheid system is not going to do anything but produce more violence and hatred and upheaval in the Middle East. And it's time to fucking come to Jesus, all right? Time to have your come to Jesus moment, Israel. Stop this bullshit. Act like a civilized country. And Stop engaging in this institutionalized program of human rights abuse called the West Bank or whatever, wherever it is you keep them.
It's so like messed up because like people just you saying that people would be like that's anti-Semitism.
They wouldn't be able to say that about me. I'd fucking hammer the shit out of them about exactly what they're doing wrong. Don't try to mush around the boundary between being anti-Semitic and opposed to Israel's policy. Okay? If we can't critique Israel when they engage in essentially apartheid against Palestinians, because people in Israel are Jewish, then we're just giving a blank check to Israel to do whatever the fuck they want and be free of critique forever as a nation state. Israel, in my mind, is not a Jewish state. It's a nation state and needs to be held account accordingly. Just like every other fucking nation state, whether it be Iran's theocracy or Israel's democracy, they need to be treated the same under the same standards and be held to the same expectations as all other nation states. It's the only possible way we can evaluate the question. So fuck off for trying to blur that line, and fuck off Israel for trying to hide behind the fact that you're Jewish to get away with murder and do whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah, it's really messed up.
And that's exactly what I'd say to anybody who called me anti-Semitic, is that that's the most hateful thing you could possibly do here, is try to eliminate the possibility of anybody offering legitimate critique to Israel by reducing every legitimate critique to anti-Semitism. That's anti-human is what that is. That's anti-progress, anti-discourse, anti-language, anti-good, anti-justice, anti-everything that we want, and pro the dissolution of civilization. So fuck off. That's what I'd say to that person. Hopefully they get the point. It's at that point they go, well, shit, he's right. I'm ashamed of myself. When you're correct, the best argument is just your position. For things like that, I don't ever need to worry about anybody saying anything really, because I already have the answer to anything they might say. But, for the last I checked, Netanyahu, or whoever it is who's in charge of Israel these days, is not a regular viewer of talking to famous people. Has no opportunity to learn from that scolding, If Israel wants to do what's best for Israel, they should play that little speech I gave to every citizen in the morning over a loudspeaker. Like if I were Jewish, I'd be super pissed off at my fellow Jews or Israel or whatever trying to position any critique of Israeli policy as anti-Semitic. I feel like um, that. I mean, you're not just doing a disservice to the discourse; you're also doing a disservice to Jews if you're trying to link um, like hating, like like your classic hate, your racism, sexism, whatever, directly to a certain national policy, then you're basically saying that even Jews can't disagree with the current Israeli policy without being anti-Semitic. You're shutting down all opposition, intellectual opposition to your national policy, saying that it comprises hate. I guess my basic message to Israel is fuck off and be cool. I thought you were cool. Stop being fucking South Africa. I mean, I get it. You're cooler than like Iran and Saudi Arabia and shit. It's a pretty low fucking bar. I get it. You're in the Middle East, but you're just fomenting more rebellion with your insistence on having everything your way. This isn't fucking Burger King. So, I guess for too long, I'll probably wrap up this stream. It's been nice chatting out my thoughts here for a while. Well, I'm not inherently opposed to militarization. I don't blame them for being highly militarized, given where they are, and given the amount of animosity there is towards them in the Middle East. But but it matters a lot how they use their military, right? By and large, militarization in the contemporary post-nuclear world, post-weapons of mass destruction world, militarization generally seems to correlate with less war, actually. Although, who knows? That may change, you know. History's always evolving, unlike people. It's very nice out today. It's cool, but not cold. Cloudy, but not overcast, you know. Quite a lovely day. It's funny though, I don't feel any strong need to go outside and do anything. Just standing out here is fine. Smells like the mountains. I wonder if people should use their olfactory capacities more. Like, maybe I feel that way because I'm fourth slot up SI. It's like, I feel this fulfillment of something underserved when I stand out here and just enjoy the incredibly crisp and foresty smelling air. It's wonderful. Makes me a little emotional. Yeah, well, we've had pretty great weather this fall. The forecast is predicting another storm coming in on Saturday, at least partially rainy. But I was looking at the clouds, and I think it could be more than partially rainy. It depends how this how the storm is impacted by this, which probably a low pressure system that's hanging out down around Los Angeles. The center of it is, the top of it's near us, so it tends to kick things kind of above or below us. But the cloud bank that I see that the forecast is saying it's going to hit us around Saturday, it I'm thinking this low pressure might be moving south a little bit, and if we can get hit by the brunt of that big set of clouds out there, I think we could see a decent amount of rain. That may be a little bit of wishful thinking, but I keep a pretty good eye on this cloud map, and I'm of the opinion that that low pressure system, whatever it is that makes it turn around like this, down in the southern part of California, is moving south slowly. It's 11:20 p.m. in the UK. Wow, that's late. Is it the case that you were down at the local earlier, but it closed? The local closes at like 11 o'clock, huh? I've been to England before. Just going down to the local to have a pint. The local what? Well, what they're referring to is what they would call a pub, which is British for bar. And when they say a pint, what they mean is a glass of beer. I'm good at translating British into American. Stratford and London. Are you going to take the lorry from Stratford to London? No, I'm going to take the train, actually. Are you going to take the train? Yep, that's what I'm going to do. British people ask a lot of questions like that. Have you seen this? Have you seen this? It's a spoon, have you? That's how British people talk. They're constantly asking questions of each other, but nobody's ever answering them. This spoon, I was born with a silver spoon on my nose. Lovely parts in the UK? I'm sure there are very lovely parts. I don't super remember the UK, but it'd be a big spoon for nose drugs. You need to get a much littler spoon than this for that. This is just a weed scooping spoon. Yeah, the USA is pretty big. Yeah, Europe has more history. It's because the savages, when they lived in America before we came and helped them to get civilized, they didn't keep any written history or anything. Like in the Stone Ages, they didn't even write shit down or have agriculture or anything. So we don't really know what happened before we got here. You know, they just fucked around for millennia, I guess, never accomplishing anything. Um, in some sense, it's like you gotta have TI logic driven philosophy first, as like the first component of civilization. Because then you have codification of principles. And codification of principles creates stability that allows civilization to grow. The other thing you need though is stable agriculture. That's probably the first thing you need, really. If you don't have stable agriculture, then you're not going to have the development of cities and various, like, you won't have a scholarly class or whatever. Well, you know what, Conman 3, I'm going to acknowledge we did it on the back of European know-how. Well, I mean, the natives did contribute to the equation maize, or as we call it today,
Right.
corn. And you shouldn't underestimate the importance of corn because it's in many of the foods we eat,
Yeah, it is.
including corn flakes, corn chips,
Corn flour,
corn flour, corn on the cob, corn niblets,
corn tortillas,
cream corn.
corn syrup. Did you say?
No, I didn't say corn syrup. Thank you for adding that one. So, yeah, corn's pretty important, and we should give credit where credit's due.
Yeah,
The Indians invented corn.
they did. Wow, they invented it?
Yep. What they did is they started out with cranberries and evolved it into corn.
Wow, then you evolved it into corn?
Yep.
I had no idea.
That's the other thing the Indians got that we haven't yet gotten is they understood how evolution works.
They understand how
They did, but the knowledge was lost. It was just applied understanding of it. They knew how to evolve creatures into different things, you know.
So no one has the history of evolution?
Well, because they didn't write it down, because they didn't have any written language.
Oh.
They just had corn.
And so they had corn, but we were able to take it and...
Oh yeah, we made a lot of different things with corn than they did. They only ate corn on the cob. They didn't even make
cranberries.
Well, I mean, once they did evolved into corn. They didn't even make cream corn or anything. So
Oh no, they just ate a corn on the cob.
yeah. It's like basically all they ate was buffalo and corn on the cob.
It's so different. Did they have like knives and stuff or just arrows?
Oh, no, they had knives, but they made them out of rocks, you know. They didn't even cream their corn, Ruben. No. And like whenever a squaw would get married, they'd all throw corn at her. So a lot of squaws became injured during their weddings.
Oh.
Because they didn't think to pick the corns off of the cob, right? They just threw whole corn.
Whole corn?
Yeah, it was their version of throwing rice.
Yeah, why didn't they pick it off?
They hadn't figured that out yet. They were still in the corn on the cob phase.
No.
They weren't aware you could take them off before you cook it.
So they were like super advanced with the evolution of cranberries into corn, but they didn't know like really many uses for
Well, they had
corn.
figured out the magic breeding technique, whatever it is, to get creatures to evolve, you know, into other things.
Oh, oh. Is that what they do?
Yeah. They just bred cranberries with some grass
Mm-hmm.
then that baby with some wheat, and that baby with those little miniature corn on the cobs that are in salads.
Yeah. Yeah.
With those things.
So
Then eventually you got corn.
they invented the baby corn too?
They'd already invented that.
Oh.
They invented that out of carrots and peas.
So they were able to evolve.
Yeah, they evolved carrots and peas into those little corns. And then they use those little corns to make big corns.
And then it kind of slowed down from
The
there.
cornography, the story of Native America. I have not seen the film The Wicker Man, but I have sat before in a wicker chair. And I will attest to that as the absolute truth. At least I know for sure I've sat in a chair that has at least a wicker bottom on it.
Okay, so but did the wicker bottom have like a cushion on it?
No.
No.
Well, I never put one on it. I'm thinking about a specific chair from my Arcadia house.
I'm surprised because I feel like wicker chairs without a cushion aren't very comfortable.
Maybe that's why I don't like wicker chairs.
Oh, maybe. I wonder if we're gonna see in House Hunter any person that wants wicker in their house.
I'm really looking for wicker and macrame. Probably not. I think people's taste has moved a little bit away from wicker.
Oh, has it?
Yeah. In recent decades. People don't want brown cabinets in their kitchen. I think it's fair to say. I've learned that from watching House Hunters.
Yeah, white is very popular.
White's the in color right now for kitchens and bathrooms, I think.
Yeah.
People want clean white, which is probably a good choice. It's probably, it's not going to look bad ever, really. Plain white can't exactly go out of style, but I guess it may eventually come to look dated, but I mean, it's more likely to look old than it is to look dated, I think, if it's just plain white.
Wait, now, so did the Indians pass on the history? Oh, no, they didn't pass on the history of the evolution of cranberry into corn.
No, they forgot how to do it after.
They forgot how to do it?
Yeah, well,
So
because
how did we make corn?
they already had made it, so we just shared the existing corn with us, and that makes more corn.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But Chief Geronimo, the guy who famously jumped off a cliff saying Geronimo, he was supposedly the last Indian to know the secret, and he took it to his grave.
Wow, that's so unfair. I mean,
He just didn't want to. At this point, he was so mad at the Europeans for giving everybody smallpox and stuff that he just said, "Fuck you guys! I'm jumping off this cliff." Geronimo!
Wow. You should work for the History Channel.
I really should. I know a lot.
So we already talked about Christmas. What other holidays do you know about?
Well, I know that Halloween was actually a conspiracy by pumpkin growers.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to hear.
Well, the pumpkin growers were lobbying heavily in Congress, and one of them said, "Hey, I got an idea. Let's designate a given day, a day where everybody has to put a pumpkin in front of their house." So they worked on it for a long time, and eventually they came up with this idea of Halloween. And then, naturally, the candy makers said, I want to get in on this too, you know.
Yeah.
Because one of the pumpkin growers, who was one of the biggest pumpkin growers in the country, his daughter was married to John Hershey, who was the son of the main Hershey guy.
Uh-huh.
And she wanted him, obviously, to get a piece of this action. So that one pumpkin grower pushed on the other pumpkin growers and said, hey, let's include candy in this equation. So they refined their plan, and it included now that you'd have to give children candy if they come to your house. And so that was the initial implementation of Halloween. The first year nobody celebrated, it just said you must put a pumpkin out in front of your house and you must give children candy if they come to your house. And then there was a general encouragement of children to go to people's houses. Nobody listened to it at all the first year. And then the second year, a new ad exec came on and he said, you know what we need to spice this up? Some spooky stuff. And they rewrote it. They included ghosts, skeletons, witches, spiders, webs, bats. And they instructed children because they thought, well, probably the children don't obey this because they're afraid of being identified by the neighbors and held accountable later. So they said, children, what you should do is dress in costumes so the neighbors can't identify you, and then they won't be able to say who it was who came and demanded free candy from them. And instead of advertising it to the adults, they just advertised it to the kids. The ad execs said, you know, we also need a stick here. So they encouraged the children, if the adults didn't give them candy, to throw eggs at their house and stuff. Well, after a few years of having a lot of their property destroyed by children, adults finally relented and began giving candy rather than having their property egged. They just gave in to the extortion. And the rest, as they say, is holiday history.
I'm so happy to know all of this.
Yeah, well, you're asking the right guy.
And it was all started by the pumpkin growers.
Yeah. In conjunction with Hershey chocolates. But what's ironic is, in the end, a lot of people chose to give candy other than chocolates. You know, at first, almost all the candy given out were those peppermint suckers that you get in restaurants.
Oh.
Yeah. Eventually, children started to complain. They started to egg the houses of those who handed those out only, and so people started to diversify the candy a bit. They went to butterscotch suckers next, which are a lot better than those
Yeah,
peppermint
those
ones.
are a lot better. What? That really took a turn.
Yeah. Is that a catch? I don't know. Unfortunately, I don't think the Eagles are doing quite well enough at the moment for Rachel to win, but there's still a fair amount of football game left, and we could see the Eagles' offense explode with fantasticness at any moment. I think it's about time to wrap this up. It's 3.5 hours in, and that's plenty of live streaming. I have plenty of opportunity to share my thoughts. And I think I'll continue by watching this football game, and then the next one, which I'm more excited about, frankly, it's this great matchup between San Francisco and Baltimore.
Oh, Baltimore.
So have a great evening, night, morning, whatever. And don't forget to eat plenty of bees.